Saturday night in Pittsburgh, the Pirates taking on the Cincinnati Reds. A few of the Reds like Ron Oster wearing number 30 to remind Ken Griffey Sr. that even though he's not playing with him, he's still with him at heart. The game is a pitcher's duel. Norm Charlton versus Bob Walk here in the bottom of the fourth. Charlton lets one fly. Bonilla comes around to third base, but fortunately for Charlton, Bonilla does not score, as both pitchers have 4 hit shutouts through 7 innings. But in the top of the ninth, the wheels would fall off for Pittsburgh. Stan Belinda on the mound for Bob Walk. Hal Morris squares the bunt. Belinda dives for it, but the ball ricochets off his glove into foul territory. Barry Larkin goes to second base. This was ruled a double for Hal Morris. Then the very next batter, Eric Davis, steps to the plate. He hits a single to right field. This brings around Barry Larkin to score, and Cincinnati breaks the ice, going up 1-0. RBI number 60 for Davis, and then the very next batter, Paul O'Neill. He rips a double over R.J. Reynolds' head in left field. This easily scores Hal Morris, and now the Reds have things rolling as they go up 2-0. Then Billy Hatcher would cap the 6-run burst here facing Bill Landrum. He rips a single to right field. This brings around Mariano Duncan to score. Cincinnati goes up 6-0. But Bobby Bonilla is able to get Duncan in a rundown as Duncan gets tagged out to end the inning, and Cincinnati goes up 6-0. But in the bottom of the ninth, Bobby Bonilla would get Pittsburgh on the board facing Tim Liana. He goes deep to center field for his league-leading 30th home run of the year. However, Cincinnati's still up 6-1. But Liana would settle down. For the last out of the game, he strikes out Don Slaughter. Cincinnati goes on to win 6-1. Norm Charlton, the winner, he's 10-7, and Stan Belinda, the loser, he's 2-4.
Ball action from the Houston Astrodome as Joe Torre and the St. Louis Cardinals are in town to take on Art Howe and the Houston Astros. Pick up action in the top half of the first inning. Pitcher Jim Deshaies on the mound tonight for the Astros. He starts out the game in fine fashion by striking out Vince Coleman. Deshaies went 7 1/3, striking out 5 batters in this ball game. In the bottom of the third inning, Franklin Stubbs will come up and hit a ground rule double to right center field. This will drive in Jim Deshaies and Bill Doran. RBIs number 51 and 52 for Stubbs. And the Astros are on top by a score of 2-0. Still in the bottom half of the third inning, Craig Biggio will come up, and Biggio singles into left field, delivering home Caminetti and Stubbs. This one just over the head of Ozzie Smith. RBIs number 36 and 37 for Biggio. And the Astros are on top by a score of 4-0. In the bottom of the sixth inning, with the Astros up 5-0, Tim Sherrill, making only his 3rd Major League appearance, uncorks a wild pitch, bringing home Rafael Ramirez, and the Astros are up by a score of 6-0. Then the top of the 7th inning, Deshaies will run into a little bit of trouble, and he gives up a solo home run to Ozzie Smith. For Ozzie, it's his first home run of the season, RBI number 42, and the Astros are on top by a score of 6-1. And before the St. Louis Cardinals would get done congratulating Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee would step up and he would smack a home run. Back-to-back home runs for Ozzie Smith and Willie McGee.
Saturday night in Kansas City, Storm Davis and the Royals hosting the Seattle Mariners. At the top of the first inning, Davis picking up his 2nd strikeout of the game as he gets Alvin Davis to go down swinging. In the top of the 2nd inning, Pete O'Brien puts the Mariners on the board. He leads off for Seattle with his 5th home run of the year, a shot to right field off of Storm Davis, and the Mariners quickly go up 1-0. But in the bottom of the 4th, the Royals come back with 2 of their own. George Brett with an RBI double tied the game up at 1 apiece, and then it's Danny Tartabull with the ground ball up the middle off of Eric Hansen. George Brett scores, and the Royals take a 2-1 lead. Ken Griffey Jr. with the offline throw as Brett scores, and it's 2-1 Royals. In the top of the 6th inning with 2 outs, Jay Buhner, who has struck out 10 times in his last 3 games, including tonight's action, singles to center field. Pete O'Brien and Edgar Martinez scoring. The Mariners go up 3-2 on Buhner's 2 RBI single, and that's his first hit since coming off the disabled list. In the bottom of the 6th inning with 2 outs, Kurt Stillwell at the plate for Kansas City, and he'll tie this game up at 3 apiece. He lines a single to left center field. That brings home Willie Wilson. This game is tied at 3-all. In the top of the 7th, however, the Mariners with 2 runs. Ken Griffey Jr. snaps the tie with his 60th RBI of the year. A ground ball single up the middle off Kansas City reliever Steve Crawford. Harold Reynolds scoring, and the Mariners go up 4-3, but they're not done there. Still in the top of the 7th with 2 outs. Griffey on first and Edgar Martinez on third. They pull the double steal. Griffey stealing second. Bob Boone with the throw to second base. Kurt Stillwell throws home, but it's not in time as Edgar Martinez steals home plate, and the Mariners go up 5-3. They go on to win by the final score of 6-3, snapping the Royals' 5-game winning streak. The winning pitcher is Eric Hansen. He's 12-9. Storm Davis takes the loss. He's 7-9. Billy Swift with his second save.
In Texas, Bobby Valentine and the Texas Rangers taking on the Minnesota Twins. It's the Twins that strike first in the top of the first. Brian Harper whips this Jamie Moyer pitch to left field for RBI number 50, bringing around Dan Gladden to score, and Minnesota goes up 1-0. But in the bottom of the first, the often hurt shortstop Jeff Kunkel goes deep off of David West for the two-run shot. This puts Texas up 2-1 for Kunkel, just his second home run of the year, and RBIs number 14 and 15. Texas will get 2 more runs in the first and in the second before the top of the sixth when the Minnesota Twins stage a comeback. Gene Larkin facing Jamie Moyer. He rips the double to the left center field gap. This brings around Kirby Puckett, RBIs 22 and 23, as Minnesota trails 4-3. Then later on in the top of the sixth, Gary Gaetti facing Jamie Moyer gets RBI number 66. As he loops one into right field, Ruben Sierra can't quite get to it. This allows Gene Larkin to come in to score. Now the score's tied 4-4. Then in the bottom of the sixth, Gary Green at the plate, John Russell on third base. Green pulls a suicide squeeze, and Russell comes in safely to score. As we take another look, Gary Green's perfectly placed suicide squeeze. John Russell comes in to score. Texas goes up 5-4. But Texas comes back in the top of the seventh. Dan Gladden facing Gary Melke. He rips the single to center field. This scores Greg Gagne. Scores tied 5-5 in the seventh. Later in the top of the seventh, Brian Harper gets RBI number 51, singling to right field, scoring Dan Gladden as Minnesota goes up 6-5. Bottom of the seventh, Ruben Sierra grounds to Al Newman. He goes to tag Palmero, who runs out of the base path, and they double up Sierra at first base. Cedarstrom calls timeout as Bobby Valentine comes out to argue the call with Joe Brinkman. Brinkman says that Rafael Palmero went out of the baseline. A play stands as called. Minnesota would build an 8-5 lead in the eighth inning, and Rick Aguilera would come in and close the doors. He strikes out Kevin Reimer for the last out. Minnesota goes on to win 8-5. David West the winner, he's 7-8. Gary Melke the loser, he's 0-3. Aguilera save number 26 as Minnesota snaps a 9-game losing streak.